Jyoti Pande, please introduce yourself and tell us where you're telling from, and please tell us a story.
I'm Jyoti Pande, a psychologist, counselor, a mindfulness and a happiness coach, and I'm logging in from Bhopal. Thank you very much, Eric. I'm pretty nervous and also emotional after listening to all the stories. So, I want to take a solo trip. I want to lick the salsa dip. I want to run after the butterfly. And I want to laugh and I want to cry. Does the word know what I desire? Does the word know what a woman's heart desires? Let me take you. Let me take you to a king's courtyard. There was whisper and murmurs and excitement in the courtyard. For a knight had committed a heinous crime against a woman which can put anybody to shame. And he was brought in front of the king. And as the people of the kingdom waited, rather awaited what the king is going to do, they were murmuring and whispering, for it had never happened in the kingdom. The people respected women a lot. And how could he do it? The king arrived, followed by his queen. He sat down, he was angry. He looked at the knight and said, how could you? How could you do this? The woman against whom the crime was committed was on one side with her head hung down. She did not have the heart to look at anyone in the face. The king was so mad, he decided to take out the sword and chop off the head of the knight. When the queen held his hand and said, since the crime was committed against this woman, isn't it right that she decides the punishment? The king looked at her and agreed. He asked the woman, you decide. How do you want to punish this man who has committed this crime? The woman looked up for the first time and said, I want to ask a riddle. If he can find the answer to the riddle, he can be left scot-free. And if not, he should be put to death. And he gets an year's time to find the answer. Everyone was surprised. A riddle? A riddle? The king asked, and what is the riddle? She said, the riddle is, what is it that a woman's heart desires most? The knight heard the riddle and thanked his stars. What a stupid woman, and what a simple riddle. I will find out the answer in no time, and then I would be a free man. Was it that easy? Anyway, the king left, and so did everyone, and he went strolling and being happy about his good luck. And he hasn't walked for a distance when he saw a beautiful woman. Beautiful, long hair, lovely limpid eyes, and she was walking with her hips swaying in the she walked. He approached her and asked her, Madam, I have a question. What is it that a woman's heart desire most? She cocked her head and coyly said, love her. Love her it is what a woman desires most. To love her. He walked ahead, for he had one answer. But still he wanted to find out more. And as he walked ahead, he saw a woman Woman irritated and hassled. She had 3 children tugging at her skirt and a little one on the side. Whom she was carrying, he was wailing, and the other 3 children were asking for something to eat. He was a little hesitant, but he approached her and asked her, "Madam, what is it that a woman's heart desires most?" Peace, peace, it is what a woman's heart desires. Do you not know? And he just moved forward. He must have walked a mile when again he saw an old woman who was walking, hobbling rather, with a stick and was crying out in pain. Ah, for she was finding it difficult to walk. He wanted to help her, but before that, he wanted to ask her a question. What is it that a woman's heart desires most? She looked up him and said, "Health, health, what else?" And started walking ahead. Within a span of few hours, 3 different answers, and he realized the answer to the riddle was not simple at all. He went ahead and brought a plain notebook to write down all the answers in case he forgets, and then decided to take a journey to towns and villages and cities. And he traveled for weeks and months and asked hundreds of women the riddle: what is it that a woman's heart desires most? And every time he got 100 different, 1,000 different answers, and he noted them in his notebook. Well, the weeks passed by, the months passed by, and it was almost the last day of the year when he had to reach to the king with his answer. He sat down and started crying, for there was no one answer to the riddle, and he knew he would be a dead man tomorrow. And suddenly he heard a voice. "Why are you crying?" When he looked up, he saw an ugly woman, most ugly woman he had ever seen in his life. Her head was too big for his body, eyes bulging out, nose flat and 2 holes, and her hair was like rat's tail, dry hair, and she smelled. He almost closed his eyes and wanted to run away from there. But he answered her, "I want to know the answer of a riddle, else I would be a dead man tomorrow." "And what is the riddle?" she asked. "Well, what is it that a woman's heart desires most?" Ha! A simple one it is. And I know the answer. But the condition is you will have to marry me. What? Marry you? But then, a life is so precious. It's better to marry this woman than be dead tomorrow. So he promised her. And she said, a woman desires sovereignty and a choice to carve her own path. Yes, yes. All the answers the woman gave fitted into this one answer. And his heart said, this is the right answer. And he couldn't sleep that night. And early morning, he was ready before everyone in the king's courtyard. And as about a year back, the people had gathered and whispering, and there was excitement, for they wanted to know the outcome. The woman against whom he had committed the crime was also standing there. The king came, followed by the queen, and the king asked, "Do you have the answer?" "Yes, your majesty." The answer is the woman desires sovereignty and a choice to carve her own path. The king looked at the woman and said, "Is it the right answer?" She said, "Yes, Your Majesty." He was relieved and he flew away from there. For the first time in life, he really felt free. But he had made a promise to the woman. And so he reached where the woman was waiting, that ugly woman who was waiting for him. Well, they got married and they left for an inn to spend the night together. He did not want to. He did not want to spend the night with her. So he waited down, drinking with other fellow travelers, and she went upstairs to the bridal suite. When it was late at night, when finally he had to go to the room, he climbed the stairs, opened the door very slowly. He was hoping she would be asleep. There was a night lamp, and he could only see her shadow. He removed his one boot and the other, and then slowly lay down on his side of the bed. "Husband, husband, kiss me, kiss me." She was awake. He scrunched his face, closed his eyes, and put his lips against hers. And suddenly he felt a little different, for the cheek was as soft as a baby. And when he opened the eyes, he saw the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. "Who are you?" "I'm your wife. You've just broken the spell." "I was under a spell, but you've broken just a part of the spell. Tell me, do you want me to be beautiful by day or by night?" "Well, by day, of course. But remember, when I come to you, I would be same old ugly woman." "Okay, then by the night." "Remember, when we walk on the streets, children will throw stones at me and people will not dare to look at me." He was confused. But then he said, "It is your choice. It is your choice to be beautiful by day or by night." She smiled and said, "The second part of the spell is broken now. And since you have given me the sovereignty and choice to carve my path, I choose to be beautiful by the day and by the night." For a woman's heart desires sovereignty and to be able to choose and carve her own path. I want to take a solo trip. I want to lick the salsa drip. I want to fly with the butterflies. And I want to laugh and I want to cry. Would the world know what a woman's heart's desire? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we all know the stories where the frog turns into a prince, but this was the opposite version. Wonderful.
It was very, very well narrated. Beautiful. I kept all my work aside to listen and see your expressions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jyoti, it was wonderful watching you in action. My God, seriously, I was cooking for my son, doing all the things, but I was having the laptop on the side in the kitchen also. It was so wonderful to watch you. And later, it actually, there was so much suspense. I was scared, ki kya bolega ye, what will that man say, I think that woman will kill him now. I was hoping he'll be killed. So yeah, it was a game changer in the end. Awesome.
It was a
Jyoti,
great
yeah.
story. I liked that you started with this like poem and then ended with the poem, and that, I mean, you got quiet, you got louder, you got that you stopped the, like, I like the physical of stopping the sword. I mean, there was a lot. So I can't see any real area that you might want to tighten up. The only thing that I would say is maybe his journey, reduce it down to 3, because it points out, but it doesn't. But other than that, your story is very tight. It's well rounded. It's got nuances. It's got lots of things. That would be the only area I could see that might help you a little bit along. But I really enjoyed it, and we've all heard those stories about the frog and the prince and the rest. And it was so nice to see a man squirm for a change, especially given that it's Women's Day. So yes, I really like that he had to come to the truth of what was really. I mean, he tried to avoid it, even at the end where he's drinking with his buddies, showing that it wasn't so easy. But that he did the right thing. I mean, that he was a knight and he did marry her and do all that. So he really was I'm not sure what he did in the beginning, but it's sort of like he had a shift in character. So it was good story.
I wanted to ask you, yes, I want to ask you about your the source of your story, because I know that story from the Canterbury Tales, Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, The Wife of Bath, and this was just a very different take on it. It was the same idea, but what was your source?
Rina, I did a course with Jilly Southwood, and from her I had heard this story, and I took the permission from her to say the story. So I really do not know the source, but I had heard
you don't
it
know her
from her.
source.
Yeah. So Jilly was always with me, and thank you, Eric. And I don't know whether I was looking at the camera all the time, but I took the clue when she said all the time looking at the camera, and this time I was only looking at the camera. So thank you for that tip.
Yeah, Jyoti, I really loved your pauses, and the story was really very, very gripping. And most of all, I loved the second spell that was broken. Like a woman has a choice, like it's her choice what she wants to be. So that was really very lovely, and that's very close to my heart. It really touched my heart. Thank you for the wonderful narration and your voice. It's too good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratibha. This is my gift to all the women on the Women's Day. Sovereignty and carving the path for yourself. And thank you, Eric, for making this possible, for making this gift possible. Thank you so much.
This is what, excuse me, is my voice audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. No other story can be better on today's auspicious occasion of Women's Day. And it's a perfect story that you have narrated. I truly enjoyed the way you started and the way you involved in that story. So nice. I really enjoyed. I like it by heart.
Thank you.
Thanks for lovely story, man.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Let's see.